Today we're going to be making some all-star WWE Survivor Series teams. In fact, we're going to be making 3 sets of all-star teams using 3 different versions of the WWE roster. We're going to make a super team using the current day 2023 roster, and then we're going to dial it back and make a team with the 2013 roster, and then dial it back some more, and we'll make some teams with the 2003 roster. And we are going to be making both men's and women's teams. And once we're done, we're going to figure out if we were to put them all in a ring together for a Survivor Series match, who would win? And hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with this channel because we do upload daily wrestling content. In fact, if you want even more wrestling content, you can check out patreon.com/SantiZap, where over 100 of you are already getting the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, my Friday night SmackDown reviews, my Monday night Raw reviews, as well as the upcoming wrestling Q&A where the patrons got to send in some questions. So again, if you want even more wrestling content, go check out patreon.com/SantiZap. For $5, you're gonna get so much more content. Go check it out. All right, let's jump into things. All right, so let's start off with the women's 2023 roster, and let's start off with the man Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch was eligible for the 2013 team because she was active in the WWE, but she just hadn't really risen yet. She was still cutting her teeth in NXT. Meanwhile, the current version of Becky Lynch is prime Becky Lynch, you know, like she's already won multiple world championships, won a Royal Rumble, main evented WrestleMania. At this point, she's doing side quests by winning the NXT title and helping put over Xia Li. So she's done it all at this point, and she is one of the very top picks for this women's team. By the way, spoiler alert, this 2023 women's team is absolutely freaking stacked, and the first person to make this a stacked team is, of course, the man Becky Lynch. I mean, if you want some hacks, somebody that just wins all the time, then you want to have Charlotte on your team, the 14-time women's world champion. I think it's 14 times. Look, I've lost count how many times she's won a world championship at this point. She's going to go down, at least in terms of accolades, as the greatest WWE women's champion of all time, probably the greatest WWE women's superstar of all time. Just like Becky Lynch, she has done it all, and she brings an element of strength and agility that I think is going to be super unique and super valuable for this team, especially when we start to compare the other teams. Somebody like Charlotte Flair begins to be a difference maker. She's still young, she's still in her mid-20s, but Rhea Ripley has already carved out one of the most dominant women's careers I've ever seen. She is going to be an all-timer for sure. She still has over a decade left in the tank in terms of being in the top of her game. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Rhea Ripley throughout the years, but she's having an absolutely dominant 2023. I know that she hasn't been defending the title as much as we'd like to see her defended, but in 2023 alone, she was one of the marquee matches at WrestleMania where she won the title. She won that year's Royal Rumble, and she's been defending that women's world championship in very dominant fashion where no one has come even close to knocking at the door of Rhea Ripley. She, I would say, is the most dominant 2023 superstar that we've seen so far on this list. But look, this team just keeps getting more and more dominant as we now are adding Super Bianca. Again, you could probably start to read the tea leaves here that I just don't see how 2013 and 2003 could put together a strong enough women's team to take out these behemoths that we've seen. We have one more. We still have one more legend to add, but just these 4 women alone could absolutely raffle stomp WWE women across history, and Bianca Belair makes that job even easier. Again, somebody that is going to go down in the annals of wrestling history as one of the greatest to ever do it. I'm not the biggest fan of her, but she has a huge fan base, multi-time world champion, WrestleMania headliner. Again, she's done it all, and if I'm looking to win, Bianca Belair adds that strength and star power to help catapult the women of 2023 to this victory. As if this team wasn't already stacked, let's add the veteran presence of Asuka, somebody who is capable of beating every single one of the women that we've already seen. Asuka has beaten them all. In fact, in 2023, she beat Bianca Belair, and she was a women's world champion this year. So she brings a dominant presence, not just from her time in NXT or previous years in the WWE. She is still a dominant presence in the WWE women's locker locker room today, and she really is just the cherry on top of this incredibly dominant women's team that is just gonna kick everyone's ass. Okay, so sticking with 2023, now we're gonna look at the men's team, and the men's team is spearheaded by none other than Roman Reigns. It was a tough decision as to whether or not I wanted to add him on this list, because if this is an all-star team for 2023, he's only had 11 matches all of 2023. That being said, it's impossible to keep him off of this list. He is the tribal chief. He is the most dominant WWE superstar of the last 10 years. He's done it all. He's been holding that title for well over 1,200 days at this point. He is a record maker, and on top of that, he brings the bloodline with him to help, again, add that difference maker if they were to need it during the Survivor Series match. I could not, as much as I tried to, as much as I wanted to, keep the tribal chief off of this list. He forced me to acknowledge him, and he is in this list. He is part of the 2023 men's team. Seth Rollins' title reign in 2023 to me hasn't been very entertaining, but it doesn't change the fact that he's been an incredibly dominant superstar in 2023. Every person that's come after that world title has lost to Seth Rollins, and frankly lost in fairly dominant fashion. He hasn't needed any sort of underhanded tactics to beat anybody, and he has demonstrated that he is still at the top of his game, even though he claims that his back is broken, even though his performances don't really seem to say that it is. So Seth Rollins absolutely deserves to be on this list. He not only has been a dominant top WWE superstar for the last 7-8 years, but in 2023 he's truly cemented himself as the number 2 in the WWE behind Roman Reigns. We had to add the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes in here. This man has had an absolutely magical 2023 in terms of his win-loss record. I mean, really the only major matches that he's lost are against 2 of the greatest to ever do it in Roman Reigns as well as Brock Lesnar. So this man, his record, his resume of 2023 really truly speaks for itself, and he is one of the top baby faces in the company today. I'd argue the biggest baby face in the company today. A lot of people have LA Knight on that list, but I still think in terms of pure raw drawing power and longevity, the top baby face in the WWE is Cody Rhodes, and we need to have this guy on the team. Absolutely. Look, this might be a little bit of recency bias because of the recent heel turn, but I needed to add Drew McIntyre to this list. He is a dominant force. He is somebody that knows how to win the big one even when there's no one watching, like he did at WrestleMania 36 against Brock Lesnar. He's demonstrated that he could beat Roman Reigns if it was a fair match. He is an absolute powerhouse. He is a presence in the ring that can dominate anybody that he's in the ring against. We have to have Drew McIntyre on this list. I was thinking of several different bruisers like a McIntyre to add in here, but again, that heel turn that we had recently, this newfound attitude of his, again, might be recency bias, but it made me pay attention, and we had to add Drew McIntyre to the all-star list for 2023. And the only non-world champion on this list, we added Gunther, the ring general, here because of his pure dominance throughout the year of 2023 in the mid-card and elevating that Intercontinental Championship to frankly feeling a little bit more important than the World Heavyweight Championship, in my opinion. Okay, we can have that debate if you want, but Gunther has just been such a dominant force. He brings a unique wrestling style as well that I don't think anybody from 2023 or 2002 was going to be ready for. We had to add Gunther, the ring general, to this list. All right, so now we're going to go into 2013, and you're about to see why the 2023 women's team is just overpowered as hell. In 2013, I had to do some digging in terms of like who really is a dominant enough female on the roster at this time to really be part of this list, because the women's division in 2013 sadly was treated like a sideshow. It was a year later when the whole women's evolution really took place and people demanded that women be given a shot. But this is the year when women weren't getting anything beyond like 2 minutes of TV time on a 3-hour Monday Night Raw. But we have to start it with the most dominant Divas champion of all time in AJ Lee, who was on this monster run throughout 2013. She is easily the most valuable pick here. She is easily the most dominant diva, as they were called back then in 2023. It wasn't even close. No ifs, ands, or buts. We had to have AJ Lee on here still. I just don't see how somebody like AJ Lee could take on the likes of Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Lynch, they're gonna get creamed, dude. You see what I mean? Like, the options really aren't that great. We have Nikki Bella, who is a Hall of Famer in her own right, but again, she is a different symbol of women's wrestling than what we have today, okay? Because again, back then it was really about being pretty. Really, that's what it was all about, because it was just about being eye candy and being objectified. Sadly, that was the women's wrestling that we had back then. But Nikki Bella still managed to carve out a pretty decent career for herself. In 2013, I believe, in my opinion, marked when Nikki Bella started taking the in-ring work a little bit more seriously, because she did end up getting better as a professional wrestler throughout the years, but she was incredibly popular in 2013, so we had to have her here. A lot of you guys forgot about Kaitlyn, but my girl Kaitlyn was a bit of a powerhouse in 2013. In fact, I think that she's the most dominant WWE diva of this time in terms of her raw power and potential. She didn't have as long of a run with the championship as AJ Lee did, but in my opinion, she fits better in today's women's wrestling than she did back then. In fact, they did a weird storyline back then where they made fun of her muscles, which, like, it's ridiculous to think about, considering Bianca Belair is way more jacked than her, and God, Jade Cargill too. Natalya's been around forever, and she was a gem back in 2013. She was one of those few beacons of women's wrestling, somebody that was actually wrestling as opposed to just being eye candy for the cameras. We have to have Natalya there. She's one of the goats. I know that a lot of you don't have the nicest things to say about Natalya. I personally have a lot of respect for Natalya, and I have to forever respect her for how much she carried women's wrestling at this time and helped continue to carry the torch for legitimizing women's wrestling back then. We have to have Natalya here. Okay, so for the last one, there really weren't that many options. I ended up going with Layla because the other options really weren't that great. Like, we had like Eve Torres as a potential option here, but she was only in the WWE for like a month in 2013. Meanwhile, Layla was cooking in the ring, man. She was good. She was good. She was a good champion as well. 2013 was kind of when we started to see less of Layla, but still, she's one of the more legitimate wrestlers in the Divas era of professional wrestling. So yeah, sure, let's add Layla to this list. Okay, so now we're on to the 2013 men's, and these guys are no slouch. This team is absolutely stacked, and it's starting off with Super Mega Cena after just beating The Rock at WrestleMania. This is a Cena that very rarely lost. I believe this is a year where he had single-digit losses. Like, that's crazy. That's including house shows as well. He did get injured at SummerSlam that year, so he didn't get a full year, but the time that we had him in 2013, he was so unstoppable, it was laughable. It was actually a meme how powerful John Cena was at this time. This version of Cena could go down in history as one of the most obnoxiously powerful WWE superstars of all time, and that is coming from the Cena mark. Next up, we have Randy Orton, who, when Cena got hurt, really carried the mantle of the main event scene for the rest of 2023 and for a good chunk of 2014 as well. Randy Orton was an incredibly dominant champion in 2013. He also had very powerful alliances at this time, as he was aligned with the Authority, and we're going to be talking a little bit of the Authority next here, but Randy Orton was eligible to be on the 2003 team, but again, he was still just a noob back then. He still hadn't really cut his teeth yet. This is a prime version of Randy Orton in 2013 that needed to be part of this team. We talked about the Authority. How about the guy that took on the Authority, Daniel Bryan, the most popular WWE superstar in all of 2023. He was the one that beat John Cena. He was the one that beat Randy Orton a couple times, even though the titles would get changed right back to Randy Orton because of the Authority storyline. But not only was he beating these giant marquee main eventers like the Cenas and Randy Ortons of the world, but he was also going head to head with the likes of Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in a storyline that will go down as one of the greatest WWE storylines of all time. If 2013 didn't have Daniel Bryan, I did this list wrong. It was his last year, but it was an absolutely memorable year for CM Punk. We had to have CM Punk on this list. CM Punk, to me, is one of my favorites of all time. It is a shame that in early 2014 we did lose him. He did quit. He did up and leave the WWE, but at least he left us with a lot of great memories in the time that he was there. In 2013 gave us a lot of great CM Punk matches. Again, CM Punk was also just ever popular in the WWE. This is probably like his biggest down year since his rise of popularity in in 2011, but still one of the most popular WWE superstars at this time. Easy. This last one was pretty tough, but I ended up giving this one to Dolph Ziggler, mostly because of just how memorable his 2013 Money in the Bank cash-in was. I know he would end up getting concussed and then relegated right back to the mid-card, but it didn't change the fact that this guy was the workhorse of the WWE in 2013. Anytime Dolph Ziggler was in a match, it was an excellent match. So I gotta give Dolph Ziggler some props here. Dolph Ziggler 2023 is the best version of Dolph Ziggler we've ever had. All right, so let's go into the 2003 women's division. This team is low-key kind of stacked, okay? It starts off with Trish Stratus. Now, Trish Stratus had been a multi-time women's champion at this point in 2003. She would go on to have even more years of being at the top of the women's card, but 2003 is really when her reign of dominance started to begin at the top of the women's card. So we absolutely have to have Trish Stratus on this list. This is the year really that made the legend of Trish Stratus, okay? So we have to have Trish Stratus here. Now, a lot of people are like, Trish Stratus and Lita. No. 2003 was not Trish Stratus and Lita. 2003 was Trish Stratus and my girl, Victoria. Victoria was a far more impressive wrestler than Lita was at this time. Lita is still on this list, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think that Victoria gets enough love from wrestling fans at this time. She was one of the most dominant women's champion at this time as well, and one of the best performers in the ring, and one of the best character workers as well, as she played this unhinged, crazy individual. I loved Victoria at this time. She absolutely is on this team. My girl Molly Holly does not get enough love. In 2003, she held the women's championship for over 200 days. She held that thing down in 2003, and still, she does not get talked about in the same breath as Trish and Lita for some reason. I'm gonna tell you, fellas, Lita is overrated in terms of her importance in the women's division. There are other women that need to get as much love as Lita. Molly Holly and Victoria were two of those women. Molly Holly is on this list. But look, there she is. She made it. She made it. I know a lot of you were about to throw tomatoes at me. Oh my God, how could you not have Lita? Lita's on here, all right? She is. But she, in 2003, like, this isn't peak Lita. Like, Lita still is starting to become a better and better singles wrestler, because she just came off from being the Hardys' valet. It wasn't really till about 2004, 2005, 2006 where she really started to cook as a true singles competitor, but 2003 was the start of that. So I'm gonna give her some love here, but I think that the other ones that we've seen up until this point are, in 2003 at least, more durable and more important on this Survivor Series team than Lita. Another unsung hero of the women's era at this time was Jazz. The bitch is back. Those are her words, not mine, okay? So I would never call that. I love and respect women, okay? But Jazz was an absolutely powerhouse of the women's division in 2003. She would take on all comers, whether it was the Litas of the world, Victoria's, Gail Kim's, Molly Holly's, and she always looked like $1,000,000. I have to give this last spot to Jazz. And now let's go into the 2003 men's team, and this one is scary because we're starting off with 2003 Brock Lesnar. No one is taking out 2003 Brock Lesnar. 2003 Brock Lesnar is the most intimidating individual probably in WWE history. No one physically could even come close to matching this absolute beast. Not even current day Brock Lesnar stands a chance versus his 25-year-old version of himself in 2003. Brock Lesnar won the Royal Rumble that year, main evented WrestleMania, just absolutely destroyed everyone. No one could stop Brock Lesnar. Unless your name is 2003 Kurt Angle, because 2003 Kurt Angle was the only person that could go toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar. 2003 Kurt Angle, I don't think is the best version of Kurt Angle. I think we get the best version of Kurt Angle in TNA, but in terms of WWE, this is the best version of Kurt Angle that we've ever had. Show-stopping 5-star match after 5-star match, hard-hitting matches. Whether he had a broken neck or not, he'd still go out there and put on a clinic. 2003 Kurt Angle, magnifique. He also had neck surgery and came back that very same year to continue to have a great run for the rest of 2003. He's a monster. You want a real monster? How about shovel, bury you alive Triple H, all right? This is Reign of Terror Triple H. This is a Reign of Terror Triple H that no one could beat. It was a meme. Back before the Cena wins LOL meme, it was Triple H wins LOL. Actually, it was Triple H buries you LOL. Yes, this era of Triple H, again, he was eligible for 2013, but this era of Triple H is the most unstoppable version of himself. He was at the top of his game. He sat at the top of the card forever. It wasn't until Batista came around in 2005 where somebody was truly able to dethrone Triple H. Because sure, Triple H would occasionally lose his championship at around this time, but then he'd win it right back within a month. That was the equation of Triple H's reign of terror. He'd lose and immediately win it and hold it for like another year. But yeah, this version of Triple H is undeniable. He is inevitable. Yeah, this team just keeps getting more and more destructive. Shawn Michaels, prime returning Shawn Michaels after a few years of being off from 1997 to 2002. This Shawn Michaels was still getting better and better and better, but 2003 Shawn Michaels is when he finally hit his stride and he was just having banger matches with everybody. To me, it's crazy that Shawn Michaels would go on to have arguably two separate Hall of Fame careers. And 2002, 2003, Shawn Michaels was the start of that second Hall of Fame worthy career. 2003, Shawn Michaels is just the showstopper. He was so good. And if this team wasn't stacked enough, I'm also giving them the best version that we've ever had of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in 2003 Hollywood Rock. Now, we only had him for about 3 months, but those 3 months were arguably some of the most entertaining pieces of WWE television that we've ever had. WWE changed the people's champion and made him into the people's douchebag, and what we got was absolutely the best character work from The Rock, arguably some of his most impressive in-ring work as well. Hollywood Rock, in terms of a promo battle, could destroy everyone and anyone. Even Prime Cena, I don't think stands a chance against 2003 Hollywood Rock. All right, so those are the teams. Who do I think would win? In terms of the women's team, I gotta be honest with you, it's not even freaking close. The 2023 women's team is just way too powerful to lose to the 2013 or the 2003 team. I think the 2003 team, puts up a decent fight, but I think the 2023 women's team sweeps. Now, the men's matchup, that's a bit tighter. I think that it could go either way, but from head to toe, I didn't see a single weakness on that 2003 team. Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, prime Triple H, prime Shawn Michaels, and the best version of The Rock. Dude, that's too much. That is too much to overcome, even for a Roman Reigns, even for a 2013 Super Ultra Mega Ultra Instinct Cena. No one's stopping that 2003 team. It's just too powerful. That's where I'm at. I think women's wins the 2023 women's win and 2003 men's win. That's where I'm leaving it at. Okay, who do you think would win? All right, I'm done. Get out of here.